honored guests of the platform party, degree candidates, faculty and staff, parents, families, friends, and guests, I hereby call to order the 2014 commencement of the University of Maine at Farmington. To all those gathered here or watching from venues around the campus or online via our webcast, I extend a warm welcome. Would you please rise if you are able for the singing of our national anthem, co-arranged today by UMF seniors Spencer Hodge and Frank Parsons, and performed by seniors Sierra DeRoche, Spencer Hodge, Michael Keim, Joseph Lever, Kelsey Metzger, Hillary Morrison, Frank Parsons, and Alexander Robinson.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
That was beautiful. Thank you. We're going to miss you. Please be seated. Good morning. I am Kate Foster, President of the University of Maine at Farmington, and your host for today's ceremony. Let me begin by introducing the platform party and others participating today. I will do so by group, asking each person to stand when I call their name and remain standing until we acknowledge the entire group. In the back row, from my right, Mr. Craig Larrabee, President of the UMF Alumni Council and co-chair of UMF's 150th anniversary celebration. Aaron A. Poirier, Senior Class President. Sean T. Skillern, Senior Class Vice President and Senior Class Speaker. Allison S. Hunter, Senior Class Secretary. And Michelle M. Greenleaf, Senior Class Treasurer. Please thank these representatives for their service and participation. In the front row, starting from my right, Dr. Catherine Wimmett, University Marshal and Professor of Elementary Education. Mr. Richard Ford, Honorary Degree recipient and our commencement speaker. Mr. Norman L. Fournier, member of the University of Maine System Board of Trustees. Dr. Daniel P. Gunn, Interim Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs. Ms. F. Celeste Branham, Vice President for Student and Community Services. And at the table to my left, Dr. Robert L. Lively, Jr., Associate Provost and Dean of Academic Services, and Dr. Catherine W. Yardley, Associate Provost and Dean of the College of Education, Health, and Rehabilitation Services. Please thank these senior leaders and honorees for their service and participation. We recognize also Mr. Robert Underwood, Aidan Underwood, Richard McAllister, Noah Miller, and Mike Polensky, who bagpiped and drummed us into the ceremony today. Andrea Kierstead at the organ, who provided pre-ceremony music, will accompany our recessional, and Lorraine Lewis and Shannon Locke, who are interpreting the ceremony in American Sign Language. Please join me in thanking these contributors to Commencement. Our reserved seating section is full of important friends of the university, including members of the UMF Board of Visitors, the UMF Alumni Council, and elected officials from the town of Farmington and the state of Maine. Thank you for being exceptional partners to this university and for your attendance today. Also here today are some very special guests in our 150th anniversary year. Joining us, many marching in regalia, are 21 members of the 50th reunion class of 1964. Members of this milestone class, would you please rise if you are able? Fit 50 years ago, stay up, 50 years ago, at UMF's centennial moment, you graduated from this university when it was about half its current size. Today, you return to honor us at our sesquicentennial moment. It would be over-exuberant to invite you for 50 years hence. But we surely welcome you back, dear alumni, and thank you for showing today's current class where they're expected to be 50 years from now. I now ask members of the UMF faculty to please rise. Graduation does not, cannot happen without these indispensable members of our community. As outstanding teachers, advisors, mentors, and scholars, you give selflessly, with skill and commitment, to prepare our graduates for this day. Please, students especially, join me in extending our deepest thanks and appreciation. Thank you. Last and not least, as we experience today, this transformed fitness center, the neatly tied maroon and white ribbons, the plants decorating the platform, the chairs set in precise rows, the graduation program checked and checked again, the procession beautifully stage managed, the diplomas ready to go, the videotaping to preserve this moment, the order and public safety well kept, the microphone working as it should, the courtesy of the riser upon which I am standing, the refreshments you'll soon enjoy, the flowers around campus, indeed the dozens of flourishes and the details that turn today from the mundane into the memorable. Let us give richly deserved thanks to UMF's extraordinary staff members and the facilities crew who have devoted hours and hours to create this day. And let me single out, for one final much-deserved round of applause, Ms. Sandra Lord, Administrative Assistant to the Provost, who as Field Marshal for today has truly run the show. Please join me in thanking them. Before I present the graduating class profile, it is now my pleasure to invite Mr. Norman L. Fournier to bring us greetings from the University of Maine System Board of Trustees.
President Foster, platform guests, distinguished faculty and staff, family and friends, and most importantly, class of 2014. Good afternoon. I am pleased to bring you the greetings and best wishes of the University of Maine System Board of Trustees. My fellow trustees and I are volunteers who are appointed by the governor for a 5-year term to oversee Maine's 7 public universities. It involves quite a bit of time and energy, especially the past couple of years with the financial uncertainties. But it is rewarding, especially each May when we have the great privilege and honor to participate in commencement ceremonies. As a product of the University of Maine system, I take particular pride in participating in these ceremonies. I'm especially pleased to be here this year as the University of Maine at Farmington celebrates its 150th anniversary, and because of what this institution represents to the people of Western Maine. The University of Maine at Farmington is special. It symbolizes and serves the region well, its heritage, and a shared commitment to learning and excellence. As most of you will agree, University of Maine at Farmington is moving forward with strength and vitality. Evidence of that was shown last week in Abraham Turcotte's uplifting video. Great job, Abe. The University of Maine, and in particular, the University of Maine in Farmington, is so fortunate to have Kate Foster at the helm of this great university. Her dedication, commitment, vision, and leadership is very evident. And yes, she is also quite the dancer, as seen in Abe's video. On this special day, we are celebrating the achievements of a core group within this community, our graduating students. Each one has worked hard to reach this point, often juggling the demands of jobs and family life to get here. I'm certain that each graduate would agree that they could not have made it this far without encouragement and guidance from others, most notably their families and friends, and of course, this university's dedicated faculty and staff. This day represents an achievement for them as well. Now that you, the 2014 graduates, have been given the tools with which to build the rest of your lives, it is up to you to seize that opportunity. Your future is in good hands, your own. Again, on behalf of the Board of Trustees of the University of Maine system, I wish every graduate the very best in the days and years ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Trustee Fournier. The commencement ceremonies of UMF's first graduating class, which entered the Western State Normal School 150 years ago, numbered 11 students, all from Maine, all training to be elementary school teachers, all female but one. They completed their examination exercises on commencement morning in geology, astronomy, and the theory and art of teaching. And they had their graduation exercises that afternoon. Class of 2014, we've come a long way. You number 442, 416 of you who said you would be marching today. Nearly all of you, all but the 12 earning master's degrees, will earn bachelor's degrees today. Of these, just over half, or 52%, will earn a bachelor's of science degree, 42% a bachelor's of arts degree, and the remaining 6% either a bachelor of fine arts or a bachelor of general studies degree. Although most of you came to Farmington immediately or shortly after high school, over 30 of you, or over 7% of the class, are 26 or older, having come to or returned to UMF after time spent in the workforce, military, or other endeavor. 32 of you will graduate with 2 majors. 111 of you, over a quarter of the class, will graduate with a minor. 18 of you with 2 minors, and a remarkable one of you, you know who you are, with 3 minors. 167 of you, just under 40% of the class, are graduating with Latin honors, which means your overall GPAs were 3.5 or better on a 4.0 scale. Of these, 21 of you, or under 5% of the class, will graduate summa cum laude with a GPA of 3.9 or better. An impressive 2 of you will graduate with GPAs of 4.0, which is to say straight A's, assuming, of course, that you kept up the good work in your final exams. Reflecting our legacy as a trainer of teachers, all of our master's degree candidates, and over 140 of our bachelor's candidates, roughly 33% of the graduating class, is majoring in early childhood, elementary, secondary, or special education. Your single most common undergraduate major, with 59 graduates, is elementary education. The next 2 most numerous majors, with 40 and 39 graduates respectively, are community health and psychology. 64 of you, approaching 15% of the class, participated in at least one study-away experience, most often a travel course. 13 of you studied abroad for a full semester or a year, with 2 of you completing your student teaching overseas. 60, or 14% of you, played at least one season as a varsity athlete, with many of you earning letters in all 4 years. One of you traveled this past March to Sochi, Russia, to compete in the 2014 Paralympic Games. Graduates, you are from 17 states and 2 nations beyond the United States. Just over 80% of you come from a Maine hometown, with at least 1 graduate each from Madawaska in the north, Kittery in the south, Eastport in the east, and Freiburg in the west. Nearly 60 of you, or 14% of the class, come from a New England state beyond Maine, led by 24 from Massachusetts and 16 from New Hampshire. Another 12 of you are from a mid-Atlantic state, and from farther afield, 8 of you come to us from Mountain West or Pacific Coast states, including California, New Mexico, and Washington. 4 of you, the 1 each, from Arkansas, Colorado, Kentucky, and Pennsylvania, are the only UMF graduate from your state this year. That's also true for the 1 each of you from Canada and Vietnam, our 2 international graduates in the class of 2014. What of your destinations? Members of the class of 2014, you are heading all over to law school, medical school, dental school, nursing school, business school, veterinary school, and graduate programs in everything from poetry to public policy to planetary geology. Many of you are starting employment in your fields with offers for full-time positions already in hand in the private, nonprofit, and public sectors, including schools in Maine and beyond. At least one of you is heading off to teach English in France. At least one of you is running a political campaign, and a host of you are taking a gap year to travel or partake in a figurative journey in the wake of your college career. Regardless of your destinations, your major, or GPA, we have hopes for you. We hope that UMF has been a nurturing, intellectually challenging, and treasured home. We hope that you already think of UMF with affection and nostalgia, and that these feelings will strengthen in the years ahead. We hope that your faculty and staff have been fine guides, that your peers have been inspirational, that your classes and clubs and extracurricular pursuits have brought you opportunity, confidence, and joy. We hope that you feel that you have grown and that UMF has been there for you. These are what we hope. What we know is that you have given us a great deal in return. You have brought us your energy, your curiosity, and your constructive criticism. You have read us your poetry and prose, led our varsity and club teams to victory, burnished our reputation in your internships, beautified our lives with your acting, singing, dancing, art, and music. You have benefited our region by volunteering, raising funds, organizing events, preparing tax returns, coaching teams, and counseling youth. You have set a high bar. You have done us proud, and you have made our campus and community a better place. And now you shall go forth and do the same in even larger measure in every place you land. On behalf of a proud and grateful university, thank you and congratulations, class of 2014.
Greetings on this soggy morning. It is my privilege on this grand occasion to introduce the senior student who has been chosen to give the address to the graduating class. The vice president of your class, Mr. Sean Skillern, was selected for this honor. This young man, whom his friends characterize as truly quirky but highly compassionate, came to Maine from Lockport, New York, close to Buffalo, which accounts for his intense dislike, or should I say hatred, of the New England Patriots. He is redeemed, however, by his support for the Bruins, the Celtics, and the Red Sox, a true Boston teams fan, minus a notable one. His parents, David and Jill, along with his two brothers, Paul and Ryan, moved to Naples, Maine when Sean was 7. The central character in this unit, however, is Rocky, the German Shepherd Husky mix, who joined the family shortly thereafter. Sean believes that the dramatic change to living on Long Lake in Naples with Rocky and the others was meant to happen, for his love of nature and all-season activities, hiking, fishing, snowboarding, is remarkably deep. In keeping with his affinity for team sports, Sean is a passionate football fan, having played throughout his high school career in, forgive me here, Tom Brady's position as quarterback. It isn't about physical size in sports, Sean's mantra goes, but rather about heart, which he has in abundance. In the absence of a football team at UMF, Sean shifted to lacrosse and rugby. Happily this season, his rugby team won the Maine Cup for the 6th time in 8 years. Under the direction of the best coach he says he has ever had, Woody Handstein. and Sean was named, despite his evident speltness, to the 15-man all-tournament all-star team. Heart indeed. It was snowboarding, however, that originally drew his interest to teaching. At 16, he instructed young ones in snowboarding and fell in love not only with them, but also with teaching them. And Sean started seriously thinking about being in the classroom as his profession. By his own admission, he was not a huge fan of UMF on the first tour, but he returned on Accepted Students Day, attended education classes, and knew immediately that that was where he should be. Now he will tell you he was blessed to have made that particular decision and also to have majored in elementary education with a social sciences emphasis. His transition to the university was not easy in any sense, because at the time he did not know what it took to be a college student. But he credits his first-year advisor, Professor Joe Tootles, with carrying him through that rough period and accompanying him with wise counsel during his remaining undergraduate years. Professor Kathy Wimmett was another important influence who respected his difference, nurtured his creative tendencies, and tuned in to who he is and who he was to become. Sean is an academically successful and dedicated 3.5 Dean's List student. He has been a student teacher, a tutor, a mentor, a counselor, and an advisor in local schools and at the Pine Camp for Adults and Children with Disabilities, where he has developed lifelong connections, established a strong work ethic, and shaped his own teaching philosophy. Beyond his academic pursuits, Sean wanted to become more involved with the community, and to that end joined the UMF Rotaract Club, in which he has served as president over the last 2 years. The highlight of his tenure in Rotaract was the safe passage trip to Guatemala with other UMF Rotaract, local Rotary Club, and Interact members from the community. Together, they worked in an education reinforcement center for at-risk children whose parents toiled in the wasteland that is the Guatemala City dump, a garbage repository, as Sean describes, over which thousands of vultures, oblivious to the horrific odor, circle opportunistically. It was here, as always, the children gravitated immediately to Sean and became his entire focus. Al Feather, one of the Rotary leaders and members of our Board of Visitors who went with Sean on that trip, shared recently that equally impressive was Sean's intense interest in flan, a custard dessert popular in Latin America, which he sought out, evidently, on every restaurant menu. He became quite the connoisseur and caused his comrades to stop and watch his face each time he took his first bite, waiting expectantly for him to rate its flaniciousness. As immersed as he was in flan worthiness, Mr. Feather observed, "It's a great example of Sean and how he lives his life, in the moment, with passion and joy for absolutely everything." I'm honored today to present this self-described lover of everything bagels, family, and Espanol, your senior speaker, the eclectic and the kindly, Mr. Sean Skillern.
Thank you, Celeste, for the kind words and making me feel like a pretty cool dude. I credit that to everyone I see in front of me today, and it is truly a blessing to be given this speech. So, good morning. If I didn't know you, there we go. Nobody's perfect. If I didn't know you and you didn't know me, I would tell you my name is Sean Skillern, and it's nice to meet you. Today I speak with intentions. They do not include popular culture references, a thesis statement cross-analyzing the Shakespearean world in UMaine Farmington, nor an explanation about how life is about some box of chocolates and you never know what you're gonna get. I speak to you today for remembrance, to key us into the memories that will tag along shotgun with us as we drive through our lives in the real world. The memories that make us feel whole, and will continue to do so when our days may seem half empty. The memories that made us who we are because we were here. Remembrance, because we will always forget the 8 a.m. classes we took, but we will always remember the friends we made and how they made us feel. These are the memories that are a representation of our Farmington experience. So without further ado, I give you remembrance. I remember racing out of my parents' car, saying, "Hasta la vista, baby. I'm free at last. Thank God Almighty, I'm free at last," stepping into my dormitory. I remember meeting the loud, obnoxious neighbor of mine and thinking, how could we ever be friends? I remember waking up this morning across the hall from my neighbor of 4 years and wishing he'd be around to break the silence in years to come. I remember freshman orientation, shredding white water waves like King Neptune himself. I remember thinking, what in the world is that hulking sculpture in front of the education center? A celery stick? A failed art project? I remember new classes, the introduction, syllabi, and new profs. I remember those same professors throughout my college experience, never skipping a beat, inviting me into their offices whenever I was feeling down and needed to pick me up, because that's a teacher. I remember South Dining Hall, and still do because the smell still lingers on me from freshman year. I also remember developing a coffee habit. I remember club fairs, bulletin boards, dollar movie nights, and all those late nights of studying. I remember the smell of fall, the wind crisp and blowing the fried dough scent down High Street. I remember Parham, Maine, Broadway, Fairview, and Pleasant, as if they were the trails to lead us all to the fountain of youth to preserve our early adulthood. I remember the days at the observatory, staring off into the distance, pondering what life had to hold. I remember dirty Dakin. As dirty as it was, and how it forever holds a special place in my heart. I remember supportive CAs like John Ahern, who would always give you a friendly hello and a word or two of wisdom. I remember the teams of the fall, winter, and spring. I remember Tuttle, Jersey, and LaBelle, the sorcerers of the soccer ball. I remember TC, Foley, and Link, the warriors of the lacrosse fields. I remember Leo with the steal, Amon with the pass, Dickey with the alley, and Johnson with that oop, baby. I remember Beaver, Beaver, and the sensation that flew through us as we became rugby champions of Maine. I remember intramurals. How could anyone ever forget a sport such as inner tube water polo? I remember powder days at the loaf, first chair, and last call. I remember river days on the Sandy, and bonfires at night, no shoes, no shirt, and no problems. I remember spring fling and love in the air. I remember day hikes up Tumbledown and Mount Blue thinking, we just moved mountains. I remember the dugout, F-Hop, and Java Joe's. I remember Ron's Market and the town's loveliest cashier, Dot. Shout out to her. I remember getting my first apartment with some of the best friends the world had to offer. I remember never doing dishes with some of the best friends the world had to offer. I remember leadership banquets and seeing opportunities that were spearheaded by our student body. I remember opening my eyes to them and to the world around me. I remember joining my first college club and meeting unfamiliar faces. I remember the sense of camaraderie held within our community, a tight-knit web of individuals who stand for a greater good. Me recuerdo cuando yo viajé a Guatemala en Camino Seguro y viendo como los niños sabían nada, pero tenían una educación, la capacidad de levantarse con nuevos horizontes. I remember when I went to Guatemala in safe passage and seeing how the children had nothing, but they had an education, the ability to rise with new horizons. I remember being thankful for all I ever had. I remember the day I promised myself to better the lives of the youth of the world. I remember being a camp counselor, making no money, and loving life. I remember arriving here wanting to be a future educator. I will remember walking out of this door today, a walking, talking, world-saving teacher superhero. Talk about a degree. I remember when I began looking behind me before opening a door to see who I could let in. I remember when our backs were against the walls, and we used those walls as leverage to fight back. I remember Farmington, the epicenter for some of the world's most eclectic, prideful individuals. I remember our last hurrahs, and I'll always remember leaving Farmington today, taking the slow, easy ride home, because God Almighty, I was free. Thank you, congratulations, and always remember.
Richard Ford, we are privileged to commend you today as a recipient of the honorary degree of Doctor of Humane Letters. Pulitzer Prize-winning novelist, master of the short story, and adopted son of Maine, you have provided readers with some of the most powerful and humane narratives of our era. Acclaimed by the New York Times as one of your generation's most eloquent voices, you bring stylistic grace, penetrating insight, and comic bite to our finest contemporary literature. From the very first line of your novels, you create a compelling story that captivates the reader. You are considered by many one of the great American novelists, ranked in the company of John Updike, Walker Percy, William Faulkner, and Raymond Carver. Your body of work constitutes a stunning roster of widely anthologized stories and best-selling and award-winning novels. In 1986, The Sports Writer, the first of your Frank Bascom trilogy, won a PEN/Faulkner Citation for Fiction and was named by Time magazine as one of the 100 best novels ever written. In 1996, your novel Independence Day was awarded the Pulitzer Prize for Fiction and the PEN/Faulkner Award, the first novel to win both awards in a single year. Your 2012 New York Times best-selling novel, Canada, has so far won the Carnegie Medal for Excellence in Fiction and the prestigious Prix Féminin Étranger, France's top literary award. Most recently, you were chosen by a jury of well-known writers and journalists to receive the 2014 Blue Metropolis International Literary Grand Prix, a distinction awarded annually to a writer of international stature and accomplishment to recognize a lifetime of literary achievement. Richard Ford, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of the University of Maine system, I have the honor to bestow upon you the honorary degree of Doctor of Humane Letters, honoris causa. Congratulations. You want me to remove this? No? This is your, I'm gonna put this right on his chair.
I think if Sean can uncover, I can uncover. Thank you very much, President Foster. Good afternoon. Congratulations to all of you graduates. I'm certainly glad to be here today with Christina. Congratulations, too, to President Foster on the completion of her second year. The gloves are off. It's really a great honor to be here celebrating this wonderful day with you all. I've been reading in the New York Times the past couple of weeks about the number of commencement speakers who've been rudely rejected by their student bodies all over the country. There have been protests. Condoleezza Rice, fair enough. The chancellor at Berkeley, Mrs. Obama, I feel like I must have done something wrong. No one's protesting. I mean, I'm a Democrat. Isn't that bad enough? On the other hand, I was kind of afraid I might be sharing my honorary degree with Governor LePage. He, of course, would be getting an honorary degree in economics or possibly in art appreciation. That could have provoked an act of civil disobedience, I think, at least in me. I am a child of the 60s. We protested guys like that. Spiro Agnew reincarnated. There is an undercurrent I detect in your kind reception just now. It's not a protest as much as it's a kind of an exhausted sigh of relief from your parents and your boyfriends and your wives and your husbands and your ex-wives and your ex-husbands and your children and your deceased ancestors in faraway countries who are now today finally at peace. All are silently acknowledge that Jesus Christ, she's finally getting out of college. We thought this day would never come. Farmington's 150 years old this spring. But from a purely financial perspective, and from whoever's paying your fees, it seems like you've been here the whole time. I do, though, want to say that I have the utmost admiration for you today. Whatever debts you've incurred, you've done it to improve yourself and to give yourself the chance to improve the world around you. I also want you to know that when you get your diploma later on this morning, like a magic wand wave, you're going to be worth $17,500 more a year than somebody with only a high school diploma. For those of you with big debts, it might be consoling to think that the only thing more expensive than a college degree is not getting a college degree. People who stopped in high school, and many of them are your friends back home, are a lot more likely to live in poverty than you are, and are more likely to be dissatisfied with their jobs than you will be, if they are not, in fact, unemployed altogether. Part of your responsibility here today, though, when you pick up this precious degree, is to use your talents and your responsibilities and your opportunities to better the lot of people you may think that you've left behind. You have not left them behind. And if you think that part of your responsibility as an educated human being is to think that you have left them behind, then you haven't learned enough. We also have something to share, you and I, at my age, which is 70. It's a quickening time for me, just as it is a quickening time for you. It's not a time for kicking back. I'm just finishing a book this month. You're getting an important degree. Emerson wrote in his essay, Self-Reliance, which I'm sure many of you read during your years here. Emerson wrote, quote, "Power resides in moments of transition from a past to a new state, in the shooting of a gulf, in the darting to an aim. This now is a moment for you to feel some power accumulated around yourself, even if you are the only source of that power, even if you have to make it up all by yourself. That's what I have to do at my age to write a book. I have to make the power up that's required to do it, because no one's going to do it for me any more than they're going to do it for you. What can I say to you then at this moment of transition to quicken your own sense of urgency and power and make this transition feel as precious as my moment of transition feels, as my late friend, alas, Seamus Heaney wrote in his Nobel Prize address, as we journey into the wideness of the world. What do I know at my age that'll help you? A few platitudes, possibly. No self-respecting commencement address should miss the chance for some platitudes. I mean, if they weren't true, they wouldn't be platitudes, right? Plus your parents expect it. They've been talking those platitudes to you all your lives. A proper education, after all, requires that you be able to see what's obvious when it's right in front of you, and that you not consider the world to be a secret unlockable only by a select few. The world that you are entering is not a secret if you're paying attention. First platitude, a remark by the Irish poet William Butler Yeats. Yeats' entire body of work seems sometimes intended for a commencement address. Yeats wrote, and I quote, "Education is not the filling of a pail, but the lighting of a fire." Education is not the filling of a pail, but the lighting of a fire. This stresses the themes of ignition, of starting, of power being exerted. I know you all understand this. I mean, you're getting college degrees. You had better understand this, or we will come back and take them away. Yeats also wrote, and I quote Yeats again, "People who lean on logic and philosophy and rational exposition end by starving the best part of their minds." What is the best part of your mind? It's the part, I think, that makes things up. It's the imagination, making something be where before there wasn't anything. If you're sitting here thinking right now that oddly, you can't remember anything specific anybody taught you in your 4 years here, let me be the first to tell you that's not why you came. You didn't come to get the answers. You came to learn the habit of imagining and providing the answers, to light a fire, not fill a pail. The next platitude comes from the wonderful Elizabeth Hardwick, who used to live over in Castine, Maine, and who wrote, quote, "Making a living is nothing," easy for her to say, "making a living is nothing, making a point is what matters. The great difficulty in life is making a difference." That obviously speaks to your fresh sense of possibility this morning, which your degree now confers, the challenge to make your life make a difference in a sphere wider than your own little spheres. Third, the third apparent platitude is a remark by George Will, the political analyst who happens to be a Republican, but in spite of that is quite smart. I want to be bipartisan here. George Will wrote, quote, "Talent is a species of vigor. Talent is a species of vigor." When I started at Michigan State in 1962, I was, like many of you, the first member of my family to go to college. My father was dead. My mother was working as a night clerk in a rather run-down hotel in Jackson, Mississippi. I graduated in the precise middle of my high school class. I was and am dyslexic. I'd been in trouble with the police. I was working as a switchman on the Missouri Pacific Railroad. I got accepted at Michigan State, which is a not very good school, because the admissions people felt sorry for me. I was certainly not smarter than anybody, but I worked harder than anybody. I still work harder than anybody I know, except my wife. I have to work that hard because at my advanced age, I still want to make a difference. Talent, to me, is a species of vigor. And finally, Anton Chekhov. You have to have Chekhov if you have a writer giving a commencement address. It's either Chekhov or Faulkner, or Jane Austen. Chekhov wrote these words in a letter. He said, quote, "I acquired my belief in progress when I was a child. I couldn't help believing in progress because the difference between when they flogged me and when they stopped flogging me was so enormous. I don't know what that has to do with commencement. I just like it. I mean, commencement's all about progress, right? Maybe the flogging part will remind you at some later date of how hard you worked here and why. You would be right, I know, to be skeptical that a stranger you never saw before could know very much that would apply to what you're commencing this morning. I mean, I don't have an iPad. I don't tweet. I'm not on Facebook that I'm aware of. Perhaps the government knows about that. I still call restaurants on the telephone when I want to go to eat there. I write my novels with a ballpoint pen. I cannot work my VCR. I do not even know what VCR stands for. Though I don't really care, because even without technology, I managed to get my work done, which is a point of contact between you and me, getting our work done. I also know we share, as I get this honorary degree and you get your very honorable ones, we share something that has also to do with Yeats, and that's not a platitude. Yeats wrote, quote, "The arts lie dreaming of what is to come. The arts lie dreaming of what is to come." Even if your degree today is in a sophisticated and useful science like forestry or pre-med, or if it's in a dismal one like economics, or a dubious one like mine, English, it wouldn't be hard in a free moment like this for you now to think of what you know as an art, not as a science, not as a pail full of dreary information, not as just another part of the knowledge-based economy. But to think of this new degree just for a moment, not as a ticket to a profession, but as an artistic vocation, a calling, which is what vocation comes from and means, which invests you with and commits you to an optimism about the future, about what's to come. To be a novelist like me, indeed, the whole business of imaginative writing is inescapably optimistic. I, after all, presume there'll be a future in which someone will read my stories. I write novels to renew my readers' sensuous and emotional lives and provide them counsel for life ongoing. And I start every day with an empty space in front of me, and I make things to put there. Try things. I make things to be as beautiful and transporting and useful as I can. And most importantly, I'm always trying to do better at what I do. And you won't be able to count me out until I've croaked. When Yeats wrote, "The arts lie dreaming of what's to come," that's what he meant. He meant we imagine the future much more than we inherit it. Strangely enough, there's no real established place for writers or artists in America, as those of you who are starting artistic vocations will soon find out. Probably here is about the only place you'll ever find it. You might say, artists, our place would be on the New York Times bestseller list or winning big prizes. I've done those things, but they last about a minute. We have to invent our place newly every time we write something, those of us who write novelists. Many of you who are going to be getting out of here today with your new degrees and entering into work and careers and professions in which you believe there's a place for you with a clear set of rules for you to advance by, a cohort of supportive colleagues who will help you and identify you and agree with you, make you feel your place is deserved and right. But I'd be surprised if you don't soon figure out that you have to imagine and invent your own place, just the way I do. You have to teach yourself. You have to measure your own progress, not just rely on competition to do it for you. Who wins? Who loses? Who cares? You have to invent your own identity again and again as your accomplishments drift out of sight and you stare, sometimes bewildered, into the future, as I often do, and as you try to think how to make something beautiful and useful out of it, just the way an artist does. A liberal arts education, for all it promises, chiefly asks us to do better at what we set out to do and to be. And doing better over and over asks us to resituate ourselves, to reimagine a new place just when we feel comfortable in the place where we thought we belonged. Comfort, or that 17.5 you may be looking forward to, might not be the ultimate destination and reward for being educated. Before you think this is just foolishness, thinking of yourselves with an artist's sensibility, you're not a professional, it's not a CPA, it's not a college professor, it's not an MBA, it's not a rocket scientist. Let me say one last thing to you before you go off into the wideness of the world. Old Yeats wrote rather ominously, and it's not a platitude either. He wrote that, quote, "Life's a long preparation for something that never happens." Don't let that be true of you. How I look at you here this morning together, still in the shelter of this wonderful university, is of you all composing one precious critical mass with its center still holding. In this concentrated state, you could probably imagine a way to solve most, maybe all of the world's most urgent problems, calm its hatreds, cure its illnesses, relieve its hungers, advance its best chances to have a future, and bring along those people you might have thought you left behind. You're just about to bust out of here, heading every which way the wind blows you. It leaves me, frankly, with a small feeling of loss. How to keep you. Not to keep you here, God knows your parents wouldn't stand for that. But how to keep alive that imaginative force, that power in transition which you feel today. How to keep you able and willing to concert and enact your vigor and imagination onto what's coming for us all, though your separate selves will almost certainly be somewhere else after today. It's not a sensation I expect you to share with me, but we're all in this side by side, you know. So keeping you together for all our greater good requires then an act of imagination on your part. It calls upon the artist in you to make sure something happens for us all, or else nothing will, or worse. It's what you should have learned here in these years. It's such a great opportunity that you have. So much is at stake and in your hands. Thank you. Congratulations. You're good.
The University of Maine at Farmington offers the Masters of Science in Education degree. This program prepares professional educators for leadership roles in schools and other educational settings. There are two programs, one leading to the Masters of Science in Education in Leadership, and another leading to the Masters of Science in Education in Early Childhood Education. In each, a written research project to improve classroom or school instruction completes the three-year program. Will the candidates for the degree of Masters of Science in Education please rise? President Foster, on behalf of the faculty of the University of Maine at Farmington, I have the honor to present these candidates. They have met all the requirements of the university and are recommended to you for the degree of Masters of Science in Education.
Thank you, Dr. Gunn. By the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of the University of Maine System, I hereby confer upon each of you the degree of Masters of Science in Education with all the rights, privileges, and honors pertaining thereto. You may now move your tassels from right to left. Congratulations.
recipients of the Masters of Science in Education, congratulations. At this time, we invite you to receive your diploma from the President. Dr. Catherine Yardley will announce each of you by name as you come forward to receive your diploma.
Donald Kenneth Ferrara, Jr. Heather Diane Freeman. Susan S. Knight. Eleni Margaronis. Tanya Lynn Nichols. Jessica Elizabeth Ward.
The University of Maine at Farmington awards 4 different bachelor's degrees: the Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Fine Arts, Bachelor of General Studies, and Bachelor of Science. Will all the bachelor's degree candidates please rise? President Foster, on behalf of the faculty of the University of Maine at Farmington, I have the honor to present these candidates. They have all met the requirements of the university for their bachelor's degrees and are recommended to you for receipt of this degree.
Thank you, Dr. Gunn. Are you ready? By the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of the University of Maine System, I hereby confer upon each of you the bachelor's degree you have achieved, with all the rights, privileges, and honors pertaining thereto. You may now move your tassels from right to left.
Graduates, congratulations. Please be seated. At this time, we would like you to come forward to receive your diplomas from the President. The senior class officers and the senior speaker will receive their degrees first. Dr. Yardley and Dr. Lively will then announce each of the degree recipients as they come forward to receive their diplomas. They will also note which graduates have earned cum laude status, indicating an overall UMF grade point average of 3.5, magna cum laude for a grade point average of 3.7 or above, or summa cum laude for a grade point average of 3.9 or above.
Senior Class President, Aaron Andrew Poirier. Senior Class Vice President and Class Speaker, Sean Thomas Skillern. Senior Class Secretary, Allison Shelby Hunter, magna cum laude. Senior Class Treasurer, Michelle Mary Greenleaf. Adrian Ross Abramowitz, cum laude. John Patrick Ahern. Sarah Dawn Allain. Amber Nicole Allen. Benjamin David Altmeyer, cum laude. Alyssa Lauren Amari, cum laude. Caitlin Ambo. Holly Lynn Ames Allen, magna cum laude. Andrea Taylor Anderson, cum laude. Lauren Mary Arnold. Kelsey Marie Arsenault, magna cum laude. Tori Elizabeth Axford, cum laude. Keegan Todd Ballard. Victoria Rose Ballinger, magna cum laude. Mariah Starr Barden. Amanda Lynn Barrows, summa cum laude. Chelsea Dawn Gay Bartlett, magna cum laude. Tasha May Bailey. Erica Lee Beal. Erin Lynn Beal, summa cum laude. Anna Belay Ariel Bean. Robert Louis Belanger. Roger Eric Belton. Fred Ocott Ben. Allison Rose Berry, magna cum laude. Nicole Ray Berry. David Brock Berthium. Joshua Adam Bishop. Kelsey Jeanette Blanchette, magna cum laude. Cameron James Bluen, cum laude. Kiefer Bogan. Devin Cody Bollard, cum laude. Carly M. Bolduck, cum laude. Mallory Ray Bonavie, magna cum laude. Carissa Marie Booker. Caitlin Victoria Boulay, magna cum laude. Chase Anthony Burgoyne. Evgeny Nikolaevich Buzakin. Brittany Ann Brady, cum laude. Peggy K. Bragg. Megan Elizabeth Braley, cum laude. Lauren Aline Breton, summa cum laude. Corbin Matthew Brisky. Julie Ann Brown, cum laude. Sandy Lee Brown. Tyler W. Brown. Megan Catherine Brushwine. Marguerite Jean Bryant, cum laude. Matthew Edward Buckley. Caitlin Grace Bukakis, cum laude. Caitlin Elizabeth Bullen. Sarah Jessica Bunch. Noah Burdett. Mary Eleanor Burkhart Polk, magna cum laude. Cody Joseph Burrows. John William Buys, summa cum laude. Jock Edward Caldwell. Nicholas David Kamick, magna cum laude. Jennifer Lee Hartland Campbell, summa cum laude. Molly Ann Carbon. Megan E. Cargill, cum laude. Alyssa Lorraine Kerrigan, magna cum laude. Nathaniel Carson. Katrina Chelsea Kerrigan, magna cum laude. Alexandra Carpenter. David Robert Carr. Catherine Susan Cartier. Philip Michael Carville, cum laude. Emily Megan Chase, magna cum laude. Kara Ann Chasen. Jennifer Louise Chick, magna cum laude. Shelby Ann Schwinnard. Melaine Lee Christensen, magna cum laude. Haley Lynn Churchill. Brandon Christopher Clark. Matthew Merle Clark. Reggie Clark, magna cum laude. Garrett Morgan Clemmer. Caitlin Gail Gallant Clifford. Brian Brandon Kluke, cum laude. Jake Thomas Constantine. Christina Louise Cook. Rebecca Cook, summa cum laude. Olivia Catherine Corbin. Victoria Sophia Koskari, magna cum laude. Shauna Violet Cotton. Rachel Iris Cox, magna cum laude. Keely Cronin, magna cum laude. Chelsea Elizabeth Curtis. Melissa Sear. Thomas Edmund Sear, cum laude. Margaret Kelly Daly Doloff. Erica Marie Danforth, magna cum laude. Haley Faye Davis. Joshua Isaac Davis. Mary Elizabeth DiLorenzo, magna cum laude. Daniel Lawrence Dempsey. Sierra Cassiopeia DeRoche. Carly Patricia DeSimone. Thomas Michael Duell. Caitlin Marissa Dickinson. Joseph William Dignam. Cordana Jean Dingley, magna cum laude. Emily Ann Dodge. Megan Donovan. Molly Dow, magna cum laude. Jessica Ray Downing, cum laude. Mary Linda Drover. Rebecca Nicole Dubois, magna cum laude. Eric Daniel Dufour. Is it Dumont? Dustin Scott Dumont. Renee Teresa Dupre, magna cum laude. Emily Kate Dustin, cum laude. Erica Marie Ellingwood, magna cum laude. Nicole Marie Ellis. Brittany Susan Errington. Katrina May Estee, cum laude. Joshua James Everett. Sean Michael Falaska. Cassandra Lynn Farmer. Christine Marie Farr, cum laude. Fasulo? Leanne Marie Fasulo, magna cum laude. Kylie Sue Furland. Fioretti. Dana Lynn Fioretti. Devin C. Fitzgerald, cum laude. Joshua Alderado Flowers. Michael John Foley, cum laude. Devin Michael Forsman. Thank you. Jackson Xenophon Fortin, cum laude. Zachary William Fowler, magna cum laude. Samantha Victoria Funk, magna cum laude. Brian Ronald Gadbury. Autumn Rose Gann, magna cum laude. Garcia. Brittany Lee Garcia, magna cum laude. Alexander Richard Goldrup. Hope Marie Gould, cum laude. Jessica Mary Goulet. Caitlin Nicole Goulet. Jordan W. Graffam. Benjamin Skilling Grinnell. Amber Lee Gray. Janelle Page Green, cum laude. Autumn Lene Greenleaf. Richard Estuardo Griffiths. Kylie Grote. Nicholas Grimm. Carissa Elise Gay. Mahaleni Alagracia Guillen. Alicia Mary Gustin. Lorene. Kyle Lorene Hancock. Mung Hardy, magna cum laude. Samantha Marie Harmon. Emily Lynn Haskell. Catherine Lynn Hatfield, cum laude. Ines Gabrielle Herden. Ethan Guthrie Harrell, cum laude. Madeline Samara Hicks. Emily Jean Higgins. Chelsea Elizabeth Hill, magna cum laude. Allison Elizabeth Hodge. Catherine Marie Hodge. Spencer Lee Hodge. Brittany Ann Hoffman, cum laude. Jesse Heath Hoffman. Rachel Erin Huber. Amy Melissa Hughes, summa cum laude. Patrick McDonald Hunt. Susan Marie Hunter. Sean Michael Igo. Yusuf Ayman. Devin Jean Ireland. Jabine. Lorraine P. Jabine, cum laude. Elizabeth Ann Janzura. Leylin Elizabeth Martin. Andriaska Nikita Jeffcoats. Okay. Ben T. Johnson, magna cum laude. Rachel Marie Joyner, magna cum laude. Amy Elizabeth Jones.
Michael Charles Kaler, magna cum laude. Tyler Allen Kalbach. Leanne Marie Keenan. Lindsay Jacqueline Keenan. Michael Drew Keim. Caitlin Marie Kelleher. Patrick Joseph Kelly III, cum laude. Devon Elizabeth Kelsey, cum laude. Grace A. Kendall, summa cum laude. Lauren Kate Kennison, cum laude. Jordan Patrick Kim. Madeline Rose King, cum laude. April Marie Kleinko. Luke Klinker, cum laude. Amanda Nicole Klug. Elena Deanne Knapp, magna cum laude. Carly Marie Knox. Rachel Ann Kosnow. Matthew John Kuczynski. Leah Catherine Kuen. Alexa Ray Kosmuk, cum laude. Megan Elizabeth Laura, cum laude. Elizabeth Rebecca LaBelle. Miles Gregory Labonte. Tiara Marie Lapierre, magna cum laude. Brooke M. Ladd. Lindsay Marie Laforge, summa cum laude. Tyler Michael Lilleman. Matthew Norman Lemaire. Stephen Charles Langland. Kelsey Lynn LaPlume, cum laude. Danielle Marie Laprie. Courtney Rose Leach, cum laude. Samuel Anders Leal, cum laude. Leon Rowan Fraser Leary, cum laude. Joseph Michael Lever. Bethany Ida LaBelle. Nicole Evelyn Marilyn Lanehood, magna cum laude. Allison Patricia LePage. Tyler Joseph Laskowski. Nathan Joseph Lassard. Ashley Marie Lesner. Miranda Marie Levike. Cassandra Alexis Lincoln, cum laude. Stuart A. Lindahl. Jacob Edward Linkletter. Sarah Jean Lolly, magna cum laude. Calvin T. Lord. Nicholas Paul Lorenzen. Cyril Sherwood Hunt. Megan or Megan? Megan Elaine Lynch. Kathleen Grace McLagan. Alyssa Catherine Mahoney. Chelsea Marie Maybaum. Catherine May Marchese. Sarah Caitlin Marshall, cum laude. Rebecca Ann Massey, magna cum laude. Jessica Michelle Matham. Sydney Jacqueline Mays, summa cum laude. Erin Christine McGuinnman, cum laude. Megan or Megan? Megan Rose Meehan. Brandon Scott Melville. Leslie Robert Mercier, cum laude. Joseph Andrew Messerman. Kelsey Faith Metzger. Lindsay Ann Michaud, cum laude. Brian J. Miller. Megan or Megan? Megan Elizabeth Millett, magna cum laude. Laura Louise Mills. Elizabeth Powers Milster, cum laude. Caleb Frederick Moore. Audrey Ann Morin, cum laude. Kaylee Marie Morneau. Nora Mary Morris. Hillary Elizabeth Morrison. Cassidy Monroe. That's Megan. Megan Laura Nedo. Nedo? Nedo? Nedo. Okay. Raymond Douglas Nedo. Trey Hunter Nelson, magna cum laude. Holly Dawn Newsom. Hui Duc Win, magna cum laude. Yes. Jasmine Grace Parma Nixon. Brian Stephen Nolan. Kenny Louise Norton. Tracy Lynn Norwood, cum laude. Molly Elise Noonan, cum laude. Emily Alyssa O'Donnell. Marianne Charlene O'Laughlin, cum laude. John Ochira, cum laude. Holly Mae Oliver. Tyler Aaron Oren. Nicole Catherine Osborne. Cassandra Lee Willett, magna cum laude. Joanna Marion Oxholm. Hannah Marie Packard, magna cum laude. Darcy Elaine Page. Trevor Allen Palmatier. Elizabeth Ashley Paquette. Mackenzie Shea Parr. Frank Parsons, cum laude. Erica Paul, summa cum laude. Michelle Paul. Rodney Lewis Payne. Benjamin Ellis Pearson. Margaret Elizabeth Pearson, cum laude. Nicole Marie Pedone. Gabriel Mason Perkins, cum laude. Lauren Christina Perkins. Brianna Nicole Peters. Tennessee Peters. Reed Lawrence Plimpton. Jasmine Portales, magna cum laude. Adam Robert Potvin. Daniel Joseph Poulin. Lauren Marie Preble, cum laude. Rachel Marie Pergel, summa cum laude. Christina Lee Q, cum laude. Georgia Anna Quayle. Alexander Randall. Nicole Lynn Rankin. Ian Christopher Raymond. Derek Riley. Alyssa Marie Renzi. Danielle Nicole Richardson. Joshua Lee Richardson. Brittany Elaine Robbins. Alexander Scott Robinson, magna cum laude. Ruby J. Rockwell, cum laude. William Matthew Rodriguez. Joshua S. Rose. Sebastian A. Rose. Ashley Nicole Ross. Caitlin Michelle Ross. Hannah Catherine Roulard, summa cum laude. Hunter George Rowell. Hannah Abbott Roy. Jonathan Daniel Roy. Richard Russell. Mark R. St. Louis. Paul C. Centimore, magna cum laude. Elizabeth Jean Sargent, magna cum laude. Ashley Paige Christiana Savoy. Corey David Scarponi. Lauren Alexis Scheidegger, magna cum laude. Brian Christopher Skolton. Kayla Mary Schuster. Bailey Ann Scott. Keisha Rose Scott. Nicholas Glenn Scott. Amber Sears. Drew Alexander Sudakowski. Samantha Marjorie Simmons, magna cum laude. Erin Lenora Simoni. Simone Claire Cisneros Thierry, summa cum laude. Ashley Brooke Smith, cum laude. Mallory Corinna Smith. Samuel Joseph Smith, magna cum laude. Haley Ann Smith Rose. Carla Antonia Solis, cum laude. Anna Sol, summa cum laude. Samuel D.C. Spar. Lucas Allen Spalding. Danielle Antoinette Spina, magna cum laude. Gina Marie Spinelli. Chelsea M. St. Michael, cum laude. Ashley Marie St. Pierre.
Anya Catherine Stasko.
Yes. Anya Catherine Stasko. Kate Louise Story. Jasmine Elizabeth Strout. Catherine Elaine Stubbs, cum laude. Catherine Elizabeth Sturgis. Samantha Iris Sturdivant, cum laude. Ryan Kenneth Susi. Michelle Dawn Swister, cum laude. Benjamin J. Sylvain. Gail Ann Sylvain, cum laude. Lacey Marie Totosky, magna cum laude. Jacob August Taylor. Rebecca Catherine Terrio, summa cum laude. Kelsey Lynn Terrio. Ellen McKenna Thorne. Kate McKenna Thorne. Julia G. Tickey. Daniel Kent Tosh. Toby Raymond Tozier, magna cum laude. Carrie Lynn Travis. Tyler Stephen Travis. Kelsey J. Trefethan. Jennifer Nicole Tupper, magna cum laude. Abraham Darius Turcott. Kayla Vaughn Tuttle, magna cum laude. Brittany Christine Vachon. Jennifer Lynn Vadnais, cum laude. Nathan Thomas Vallette. Caitlin Dawn Victory, cum laude. Christopher Arthur Vogel, cum laude. Brett Allen Wallingford. Kevin Brunock Walsh. Cashley Diana Weymouth. Chantel? Yep. Chantel Elaine White, cum laude. Danielle Leah White, cum laude. Lydia Ellen Whiting. Tyler Dean Wilborn. Amanda Rose Wiley. Kirk Stevens Wilkins. Caden Elizabeth Wilson, magna cum laude. Dale Ray Winchenbach. Megan or Megan? Megan Winker, cum laude. Kayla Louise Wister. Alexa Louise Wyman. Emily Jean Yates. Devin Towers Young. Catherine Ann Zachary, summa cum laude. Dan Zimstowski. Yeah. Erin Elizabeth Zedema. Finally, we present our class marshals. First, Natalie Elise Dumont, magna cum laude. And second, Caleb Daniel Fletcher, cum laude.
We have now officially conferred the degrees. Let's give all of the new graduates a rousing round of applause. At this time, I call upon Mr. Craig Larrabee, a 1992 graduate of UMF and president of the Alumni Council, to welcome graduates to the ranks of alumni.
Thank you, President Foster. 22 years ago, I graduated from the University of Maine at Farmington. No one had computers, no one had cell phones. There was a small group of us that used to get together on Thursday evenings and watch two new television shows, Seinfeld and The Simpsons. In that group of friends was Pat Manuel, one of the youngest school superintendents in the state of Maine now. In that group was John Kuchar, leader of an investment firm on Wall Street. In that group was Jeff Neal, the drummer now for the band Boston. In that group was a young, somewhat obnoxious young man who used to tell us jokes during commercials. His name was Bob Marley. I don't know what the next 22 years is going to hold, but I do know things will continue to change. You as graduates must be prepared to embrace change. I am the CEO of Jobs for Maine's Graduates. I have over 100 employees here in the state of Maine. A third of those employees are UMF grads. Why? Because when you graduate from UMF, I know you're prepared. I know you can embrace change. And you will. And I have the utmost faith that each and every one of you that graduate here today will have a successful career. I just want to leave you with a few words of advice. Each day, and I really mean this, each day you need to spend some time in these three areas thinking. Am I prepared for the present? Am I prepared for the short term? What are my long-term goals? What are your dreams? Spend every day finding time every day to dream. Please stay humble. Be that person that opens the door. Be that person that says please. Be that person that says thank you. Continue learning. Your learning does not stop today. Be ready to accept challenges, responsibilities, and please, please do not forget dear UMF. She is a touchstone of strength and experience you can always draw upon for strength. She has given you a strong foundation to build from. Give back to UMF so others that follow you can have the same advantage that you take with you today. On behalf of the Alumni Council, I welcome you to the next phase of your life. I am very proud to say that I share the same distinction and honor that you do today, a member of the UMF family. Make us proud, congratulations, and stay happy, UMF.
This concludes our commencement exercises for the class of 2014, but there is one last thanks to give. Graduates, this is your achievement, but it very likely came with ample support and encouragement. Will all the family members, friends, and loved ones who have come today to celebrate with a graduate, please stand if you are able. Graduates. Graduates, you didn't need your cue. Give all of those across campus and here in other venues a deserved round of applause. Thank you. I now close the 2014 commencement ceremonies of the University of Maine at Farmington and invite all those gathered to join us for a reception in the South Dining Hall of the Olson Student Center. Graduates and guests, this is the instruction. Graduates and guests, please remain at your places until the platform party and faculty procession have exited to the Student Center. Thank you and congratulations again.